It says we read the top. Yisboyer atam. The question is, Lama baza yesh tamid rak tesha tikuni dikna. Why is there unpin? There's only 9. Why does he have 9? Now, did we do this already?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about them. Erakanpin has 13 tikunim. Arba behem shehem eloyin. There are 4 of them, which are the upper 4. Ein tzrichem ela arba alyonin. They don't need the upper light. Now, I'm not sure what that means. And then he maybe going to bring an answer. So they're not looking upwards for light because they have what they need. Now, what that means, I don't know. Then there's another 8. They're called by a different name. They're called the beard of the great Kohen. Which I guess you would say the Kohen Gadol. He said the Kahana Rabbah. Shahaschaltam he min hatikun and nikra Rav Chesed. They begin from the tikun which is called Rav Chesed misham lamata. So he's going to count it out for us if I remember this right. Ki Rav Chesed hu bebechinas Kahana Rabbah, because the concept of an abundance of kindness is also the concept of the high priest. Kenoida Sheha Kohen hu bechesed. So he says he knows this because the Kohen is in Chesed, and this is the top Chesed, and he says it goes with the concept of Rav Chesed. So it's Hashem Ke'el Rachum V'Chanum Erikapayim V'Rav Chesed. So he says that this is where it starts. So let's see if we could get some deeper understanding here from the Tiva Gavanos.
Okay. I'm listening. I count 12, not 13.
You counted, what did we say now? Yeah, okay, he's going to go through this. You mean you count 12 if you go Hashem, Ke'el Rachum V'Chanum, Erikapayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet? There are 13 there.
Okay, all right.
I think did you count Hashem? I'm confused about it also, and I'll tell you there's a place, I don't know, if you have time, to look at, there's some other places that need to be examined in the Eitz Chaim to really, flush out backgrounds, because it's like it is, like I was saying, like I think it's like a river, and you go into the river, but the river has different places in it. Some places that you wouldn't know the nature of that water over there. And between the 13th and the 17th Sharim, there were a lot of very important ideas over there that are not necessarily, maybe we'll see them here. Okay, so I don't know. It's one big river. So let's go over here now to number Samach. It says Ke'es. So now, Mivayar Harav the Ein Kol the Yud Gimel Tikun Diktat Srichen the Kabel Ha'ara Mehachavarti. So that's what he's talking about. Before he said, and I didn't really put it together, but he's saying that the Dikna is the 13 and the Hivarti is the 13. So we know that the Hivarti is the concept, it seems to be, the concept of this flowing of the whiteness into the beard, that they're somehow related, or they are in fact related, that the Hivarti is panimi to the beard, and they're all related to these 3 Havayas plus a kola. So I'm just putting together what I know. It's a big topic. So he says again, reading the cross. So all of them don't need to get ha'ara from the Hivarti. The Chadalit Tekunim Rishon Didnikna, because the first 4 Yesh Lechem Kavar Ha'ara Maspekes, they really are some way very, very close to the Hivarti, and as a result of that, they have plenty of light. B'li Ha'aras HaChivarti Ve'ein Sham Tzrichen Ha'aras HaChivarti, and they don't need the light of the Hivarti.
So why don't they need them?
I agree with that. I had the question. He did put sort of an answer on it. He said, no, he didn't. He just said that they don't need it. That's what we know. That's the fact. Good. But now the other 8, the lower 8, tikunim shemaschilim metikun v'rav chesed. So that's that tikkun there. Ki yodea shachatikuni dikna hem keneged a yud gimel midus, because we understand that the 13 meters of rachamim correspond to the 13 tikkunim of the beard. And he says, Hamaschilin, Mikhail, it starts, so now he's going to count them up for us. I don't know maybe what your question was earlier. So he said, Mikhail, Rachum, V'chanum, Erik, Apayim, Hare, Kan, Arba. That's the 4. The feed das Rav. So now there might be some differences. And he says, this is according to the ARI. So he says, but I am the Shefa. So look, in the Shefa, he's going to go through some other ideas, perhaps, Hagavanos. So he said, V'im came Hamida HaChamishi. So therefore, when you come to the 5th one, which is the beginning of the lower, let's say the lower 8, or what is it, the lower, I can't count, lower 9. So question, V'im came Hamida HaChamishis, he merav chesed, it's from Rav Chesed, Umemidu zu maschilim aches tikunim achronim. From this is where you start the lower 8. V'ches tikunim elo nekroyim dikna de kahana rabba. So these 8, that is the 8 that I think he means after V'rav Chesed, right? Because if he says the first, there's 13, right? So either the first 4 don't need ha'arf and the Hivarti. Then when you get to Rav Chesed, though, then's where you have to start up this concept of, so I'm saying it's 9. Rav Chesed is number 5. That's what he said. And then you have 8 more come after that. 5, let me count on my fingers. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 8. So Rav Chesed apparently is, it's in other places too, how important it is. So apparently it's a bridge. Something like that. And let me read it again. From the word, on the second line, it says, this is where the lower 8 start. So these are called the beard of the high priest. What's the reason for this? Who kaven shekohen hu bebechinas chesed, v'im came hamida shel Rav Chesed. So there you have the Rav of the Chesed, shuhu Chesed gadol, which is a tremendous amount of Chesed. He habechina shel kohen gadol. So that's really what the kohen gadol means. But you have to try to taste it back. Like he has within him the kohen gadol. I guess he means Rav Chesed is the Rav Chesed, right? So that's the bridge. He makes it all, okay, I have to think this through. So he said, he habechina shel kohen gadol. So that's the bechina of the kohen gadol. Then everything flows out of the kindness flows from there. B'chol hashmoni tikunim nikroim kain. So all of the rest of them are called kain. B'shem kahana rabba. So all the rest are called by the name. They're part of the kahana rabba. Kain b'shem Rav Chesed maskil inyan zeh. So in other words, it's like it's panimi to them. So therefore, everything else that comes out in the beard is going to be like that. I think that, I have a mark through this. This is this word shouldn't be there. It's a typo. So he said, Sha'amru the dikna kahana rabba bechinas tikunim beches tikunim is take. So it means that the beard of the high priest is 8 pieces, 8 tikunim. V'hu sod hashmona hivarti. Huh?
Before, I'm coming up with 12. I don't see where the extra one is coming in. I just don't see it.
No, tell me what you're counting. I don't know where you're at.
But here it says that we're talking about the chet tikunim akronim.
But you have to tell me specifically where you're reading. Where you're reading. Where are you? I'm not good at the second line. The second.
Second line of the two. It says achet tikunim achronim. These are the later.
The last 8.
But the original 4 didn't need the light. So I'm counting the 4 with the 8, and that's
12. In between them is Rav Chesed.
Okay, all right.
So that's what I was saying. No, that's fine. So that's what I was saying. The Rav Chesed seems to me like it's a pool or it's a bridge. This is like a Yesod type of idea. Like everything that's up above is related to Rav Chesed, And Rav Chesed is the root of the lower 8, which are called the Kahana Rabbah. So let's see his word. Let's read from where you said it. So he says, Umamidazu maschilim aches tikunim achronim. So that's where they start. In other words, I think he means they're the 8 that come after it. V'ches tikunim elu nekroim dikne de Kahana Rabbah. So he says it's 8 tikunim that are from the dikna of Rabbah. So after Rav Chesed, be'emes, then you get be'emes is the next one, and then going down. All of those are part of the beard of the Kahana Rabbah. Could be really, looked at. V'atam the shem zeh, the reason for this, who ki kevin shekohen hu bebechinas chesed. V'im came hamida shel Rav Chesed, so that midah of the beard of Eric Anpin. Remember this concept. The beard of Eric Anpin is for the purpose of ismatus, the light, which means limiting the light. So you have a tremendous amount of light in the first 4. When you get to Rav Chesed, it seems like that's where it starts to,
It's diminished at that point, yeah.
But they're diminished all the way down the line. But this maybe is a signal point for a serious diminishment of light, which he's about to explain, I guess, because he's going to say that without the 8 Hivarti on the face, that you wouldn't have the lower 8 or something like that, that they supply energy to the lower 8. Let's see. V'im came hamida shel Rav Chesed hu Chesed Gadol. It's a big Chesed. Hi ha-bechina shel ha-Kohen Gadol. So this is the bechina of the Kohen Gadol. Because Shmona ha-tikunim nikroim kain. So all of these 4 tikunim are called by this name. B'shem Kahana Rabbah, they're all parts of the beard of the Kahana Rabbah, Kavan Shemir Rav Chesed Maskil Inyan Zeh, because that's where everything starts, that's the root of it. B'dam v'zechem b'vor b'idra, so we hit that the idra. What's the idra say? Sha'amro zdikna the Kahana Rabbah, b'ches tikunim istakein, is made out of 8 tikunim, the lower 8. V'hu sedach hashmona Hivarti. So excuse me, I said read it wrong. Who sewed, it's the secret of the Shmona Hivarti, of the 8 Hivarti. Why? Shemis pashtu mehem har Shmona tikunim tachtonim shel dikna da Atika. Atika is Eric Anpin. Now let me translate this again. Shehis pashtu, so you have the 8 Hivarti, from the mehem, from the 8 Hivarti, har Shmona tikunim tachtonim, the lower 8 spread out from those mehem shmona tikuni tachtonu shel dikna de atika. So he's saying that the 8 Hivarti, which are 4 havayas on each side of the face, that these somehow mehem comes out from them shmona tikuni tachtonu shel dikna de atika. So their panimi, the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, okay, is in two of them, 2 Yud-Kei Vav-Keis are here. Shemispashtim b'fnei, on now they spread onto the face of Eric Anpin, shehem shtei havayos, which are 2 havayos, which we are just saying. Okay, let's go to the top and try to work on that. I thought that was a pretty good job there myself, that we're trying to get into this. So he says a Mem Dalet. On page Mem Dalet, there we go. So these 8 tikunim, what is their purpose? We said they are channeling the light downwards and making it digestible to the next level. They need to go down and to shine down below. Where do they shine? But Tesha tikuni dikna de Zer Anpin. They need to shine into the 9 tikunim of the beard of Zer Anpin. So he said yesterday that I was just thinking, why is it 9? He said because it's been squeezed, the Mochin is squeezed into the Chabad, and the Chabad is 3, and then each 3 has a 3. That is basically that the Mochin produced that. They produced that 9-part beard. So now the idea is to bring from the beard of Eric Anpin to the beard of Zer Anpin, who is a 13 going to a 9. But now we're dealing, though, with the beard of the Kahana Rabbah, the big giver. So therefore they're constantly needing a light from coming up above. The because they're constantly being being built into the dikna of Zer Anpin. Now the misaknin tame, because we're talking about tikkunim, it's this word misaknim. We're at the tikkun elevator kolel, so we better figure out here what the word tikkun means. So the vishahem misaknim tame the dikna dezah, because these lights, I guess he's talking about the lights from up above, are constantly working to rebuild or build up the dikna of Zer Anpin. Masha ein came ba'arba tikkunim elyonim, man. That is that 4-8. So here's the Kahana Rabbah trying to build up the boy. The boy is Zer Anpin. He's trying to give the boy, grow him up into manhood. What part of him? The lower 8 tikkunim of his beard. Constantly. That's why I'm reading it. So now let's go back to the Havayos. Those 2 Havayos, Shehem Ches Hivarti, which are these 5 pure white spaces, duration that are on the head. They're so that they pour down and they're shining into into the other 8. Let's see. So therefore, there is in the 9 tikkunim that we were talking about, there's an ability, so I don't know if you're going to ask this question, but he says, let's see, so we're just talking about these 8 tikkunim, right? And he says the first 4 are independent of Rav Chesed. So now if he goes to 9, that he's including Rav Chesed, because the Kohen Gadol goes along with it. Maybe. So I don't know if you would ask that question. They were shining it into them. That is, in these 9 lower tikkunim, koach b'tesha tikkunim aniskar, that including Rav Chesed, the redis lahoyer b'tesha tikkunim dikna dezah, to go down and to shine into the 9 tikkunim of Zer Anpin. Aval ha'arba tikkunim eloya, but the 4 tikkunim, the original ones, she'ein me'irim tame b'dikna dezah, they're not pointed at Zer Anpin all the time. Einen srichim le'or ha'elyon. They don't need to get a light, any lights from the shvil with the what we call the Hivarti, from the white streams. Okay, so that was a lot. Let's go over and see what the Teva Gavanus has to say on number Samach. I'm trying some Cuban coffee today. Bostello. I know you're a lot more sophisticated because of your business in the Southwest.
I'm drinking instant coffee. I mean,
Right.
I think you're on a much more elevated level than I am.
Actually, this was given to us, but my wife we have this mobile home park, and my wife has a lady that works there. She's really good, and she brings us gifts. She's not Jewish, but she's learning our ways, like that. She's one of these kind of people. Really lovely person. So she gave us these gifts, and in the gifts are 2 Keurig cups of Bostello coffee, and today is my first day trying it.
Enjoy.
Thanks. Okay, number Samach. So let's look carefully. Keis mevoira Rav de ein kol the Yud Gimel Tikkunim Diknat Srichim the Kabbalah Ara Mechai Hivarti. So first of all, I'll translate it. He says it's not necessary for all of the 13 tikkunim of the beard to be involved, the Kabbalah Ara, to receive light from the Hivarti. The Hadala tikkunim and Rishaynu de Dikna, because maybe it's answering a question here. Yesh lechem kavar ha'ara maspekes. So far, he's quoting the Rav. Bli ha'ara Hivarti, because it doesn't have any ha'ara coming from the Hivarti. Ve'ein heim tzrichim laha'ara Hivarti. They don't need it. Now, the answer to the question of why they don't need it doesn't seem to be the direction that he wants to go in here. I think that what he wants to do is he wants to say what you're dealing with here is the 8 lower spheros of the beard, of the tikkunim of the beard of Eric Anpin, and what is powering them. Where do they get their power to be able to come and bring this goodness to Zer Anpin, to the beard of Zer Anpin? That's what he wants to do. He doesn't really want to discuss go in that direction. So he says, because the answer is because there's enough light there to begin with. Okay, at the very top, have to think of where the beard is. It means the top of the face sort of area, and I guess. For those 8 that start there, and he's later going to include apparently Rav Chesed, because we understand that the tikkunim go along with the tikkun, the midos, the yud gimel midos, the maskilim mekael, starting with kale, rachum v'chanim, erikapayim, hare kan arba. So that's the 4 that he wants to talk about. He doesn't count Hashem. So it's just kale. Those are the 4. Lefi das Rav, and according to, now he says the Rav v'ayin b'shefa. Did I learn this already? I'm in the wrong place?
Yeah, you did. We learned it.
Okay, I'm in the wrong place. Where are we? On Samach Beis.
I think we're beyond that.
Samach Beis. Okay, I apologize. Okay. V'keven shirak haches tikunim shal adikna chem hatzrichen the redis la'oyer b'tesha tikunim shal adikna the zer anpin. So he says that since that only the lower 8 tikunim of the dikna, that there's the only part that's necessary to go down to shine to the test into the 9 tikunim of adikna the zer anpin. V'chein rak tikunim elud tzrichen the kabel tamen ha'arach al yonda. So therefore, that's their purpose. Since their purpose is to go down and shine, so they actually need a source of energy. So therefore they need the upper light. I'm translated as energy. Because they're constantly working on the beard of Zer Anpin. So in other words, they need energy, yeah. Masha ein kain hadala tikunim mirishayim, which is not the case with the 4 upper ones, which we call it the dar rishona. She'enim yordim l'saken as a they don't go down. They have nothing to do with Zer Anpin. Their business is different. Einin tzricha the kabbalah arach al yoin. So now he's saying that the Rav Chesed that we mentioned before is the part that really deals with trying to give to the sun, so to speak. So he said, going down to Samach Gimel, v'lechein b'shvil sheyuchol hatesha tikuni dikna de erik anpin l'redis. Since those 8 are able to go down, v'lehayar b'tesha tikunin dikna shalza, and they can then shine into the 9 tikunim b'zer anpin. Tzrichem aches hivarti the reisha de erik tarich. So those 8 hivarti that are on the face, which we said, which are once again are yudke vavkes. Shehem shtei havayos the higher b'tesha tikuni dikna derich. They have to be able to shine into. Now we're saying that the panimi, the beard, is on top of these. So he says they have to be able to shine into these 8 tikunim of the dikna. That's what they do. V'al kain v'ayudei kain. So in this way, yesh koach b'tesha tikuni dikna derich anpin. So therefore, it gives the power of these 8 tikunim, and he's calling them 9 now. The derich anpin, the redis. Including Rav Chesed. Now that's probably a whole other inyan. Rav Chesed is now included, and it would be the top of the kunim of the dikna of Zer Anpin, and have to learn more about the dikna of Zer Anpin. I have seen it, but forget. Let's go on. We have a little bit more to do in this one. He said, which is not the case. Once again, he says by the first 4. So since their purpose is not to go down and to shine the Talmud b'tikuni dikna d'zah, they don't have to do that. Therefore, they don't need the energy from the Hivarti, which underlies all of the beard, actually. They don't need it to be, that's not their purpose. It's a transfer. So now what you have is, you have the beard of Erik Anpin, the lower 8 parts of it, 9 parts, being shining into them, the 2 havayas, which are 8 letters, shining into each one of the 8 that's going to go down and penetrate the dikna of Zer Anpin and grow it. That's their job. Okay, now I didn't learn this before, so if you want to keep going, which we have a little bit more time, we could say Yisboyer Ofen Yitzias Dalet Tikunim Lahoyer B'chutz Hanaasa Yedecha Kos Achivartecha Ba'ach Dezer Anpen. Now you remember that we talked about the concept of the hair bundles, and that there is a hair bundle that falls down onto the back of Zer Anpen from Eric Anpen, and talk about Eric Anpen's bundles of hair, and strikes there and produces the concept of tefillin. So that's a whole inyan by itself. So now we're seeing like this. He said previously that the stoppage, when we say Hashem, Hashem, the Keil Rachum that we were just talking about, we start to say that it causes a blockage in the flow of energy, which causes the Yesod of Ima to disappear. Exactly what happens, maybe it joins the rest of Zer Anpen. I think that's part of the story. But that's not the point here. It's caused it to disappear. And now you have the 4 mochin, which was originally 3. Now you have the 4 mochin. You have the 4 mochin revealed. But we said that so what? They're not doing anything. They're just sitting there, shining, but they're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. So therefore, this is his words. B'ofen yetzias dalet tikunim. So now we have to get them out functioning. Lahoyer b'chutz, to shine outwards. Hanaasa al yedei hakos hivarti. So this hivarti that we've been talking about is that apparently this stream of whiteness flows down the back of the head as well. Ba'ach zer anpen, onto the back of zer anpen. Now, if we had a drawing, then I would draw a question like this: that the cylinder in the center is Eric Anpen, and at what we would consider to be the navel of Eric Anpen, that's where you find another circle surrounding it, which is the circle of Zer Anpen. Now, if we imagine that I'm using the word circle, I don't mean circle, I mean cylinder. So you have the cylinder of Eric Anpen, and that's what would be the geographic navel, is where the cylinder of Zer Anpen and his nukva probably along surround Eric Anpen. Now, if you're on the top of the head of Eric Anpen and you have a stream that's streaming down, it seems to me logical that since he's inside of Zer Anpen, that the stream would flow onto the face of Zer Anpen, not his backside. If you understand what I'm trying to say. So once again, you have a cylinder, a narrow one, powerful narrow one, and it is clothed at its navel by another cylinder. So that cylinder is outside of the first one. So if something falls off of the head of the first one, which is inside of everything, isn't it logical that it would be on the inside of the outside cylinder? Too many words? But he doesn't say that. This is my mind, just my mind going through this. That's what I would think would be logical, is that the outside of the upper would go to and that's also a rule in Kabbalah, is that the kitzonius of the upper becomes the panemius of the inner. But it doesn't, he says not like that. He says, in fact, that it goes down around the back of Zer Anpen, who is surrounding Eric Anpen at his middle point. So let's read a little bit, and this, I'm just giving you the background, and I talk it out because it helps me to understand. It says, Amnam Ata. So now, we'll look over now. Asher kavanasenu hi lachashlim kol hayud gimel tikun dikna dezah. So that's what we want to do. And so he says that's what you get out of the stoppage that breaks open the Yesod, and it reveals all this good stuff in there. So it's not just the Yesod. I guess it breaks open all the whole 9. So now you have all the mochin out there, but they're not doing anything. They're just stuck in the same place. And it's made from the process of the birurim, which means the finding out the kedusha of the malachim shel zer anpen, meaning of the lower parts of zer anpen. This is a little bit deep place here. So you have to bear with me because he just transited from to the yeah. So I just wanted to know whether or not we need just to mention, what happened with the malachim, because the malachim are previous, they come before the Olam HaTikun. We're talking about always the Olam HaTikun. But the Birurim are taken out. That's part of the process here of going to the Birurim of the Malachim of Zeranpin is through these this mining out process, which is called Birurim. So in other words, there's Kedusha amongst the Malachim. That's part of our business. So the power of these Birurim, which is, again, I'm getting lost, but he said, comes from this Tipa that we've been talking about all along. It's coming down from the Most High. As the Yesod, and now it's broken open the Yesod of Ima. Homedes because of the Zer Anpin, which is now at the chest of Zer Anpin. The Kilkula as the Mekitzo Sasa Kanaz. And it causes the walls there to be broken open, to be what's a kilkul? A good word, it deteriorate. Corruption, it means corruption. But that's not a good word here. So I think it deteriorate or destruction. Destruction. As a Mekitzosa Kaniska the Ale. Hine he omedish sam, so she's standing there. Vein ba koach adayim lahotziyah lachutz, as a dalit tikuni dikta dizah. So let's say like Hilko means that she's been dissolved, so to speak. She's still there. It seems like he's saying she's still there, but she's no koach anymore. She's not together anymore. So therefore, now we have to come back to that third Havaya, not the one on the beard, the one that's in the back. Shehi Dalek Hivarti Reisha de Rich, those the other four Yudke Vavkes on the Reisha de Erik Anpen, Hamnimshachas Ma'achre Reisha de Day. That goes back, flows down. Hamshacha, who call it flows down from the back of the head of Erik Anpen. Dereka Orech, past his neck. Umagaz ad Malcolm Arpo shall Reisha de Zah. Now where does it go? It goes to the back of the neck of Zeranpin. Maka Sham, Meira Sham. So it strikes there, and it illuminates and shines on it there. The Nignesis ad Tocha Mochin de Zeranpin Mamash, and it goes right into the Mochin of Zeranpin. So which are the Mochin? Let's go back again. These are the Mochin where the walls of Ima have, of the Yesod of Ima, or just, we would just say the Nai of Ima have broken open. And now everything is backed up and they're exposed. And so let's go back where it says, Vihi Makasham, it hits the back of the neck of Zeranpin. The Nikneses ad Tocha Mochim, which are exposed to Zeranpin Mamish, goes right into those Mochim. Ki Ma'achasha Kevar Orcha Tipa, because since we're talking about this or of this Tipa, right? Which he said previously that the Tipa, the origin of the Tipa, as best we can understand it, is from the Chasadim of Das of Atik. Atik. And you know, and in the shir this morning, in the Sifra Tzniuta, he said that Atik is also the concept of what we call the Reisha de Lo Isyud. It's the boundary by which there's no knowledge possible. Also called the Ein Sof often. So he says all these words go together, and this is the Rav is saying that from the chasadim of the das of a reisha that's completely and totally unknowable or unfindable, whatever you say, he said that's where this tipa comes from. So he said, it's a chesed. Ki ma'achasher gevar orcha tipa hapenimis, the inside line, this type of b'chagiyasham, when it arrives at this place, Bacha Yesod Ima, it breaks open this Yesod Ima, now he says it in a different way here, and corrupts, or, I'm looking for a word here, it corrupts is just not a nice word, it dissolves them, as Mechitzot V'lechein yesh ata koach el orcha vayach nizkar. So now there's a power here in this havaya, which we said what is the stream of this Hivarti, which is coming down the back of the neck of Erik Anpin to the back of the neck of Zeranpin. The dal Hivarti achre reisha the Erik Anpin, because there are four Hivarti in back of the head of Erik Anpin. The ikonis tocha mochin dezah, that these come into the mochin dezah. So therefore we see that these two lights, Now, I don't know where this concept came from, because he just mentioned the concept of the Tipa Hapanimis. So he says these two lights, so he says there's a Hapanimi v'Hachitzon, the inside one and the outside one. Mischavram Yachad, they come together in oneness. Umakim Meirim b'Mocha Dezah, and they strike. And that striking, we see in other places that the concept, and this is an interesting concept for psychologists again, is that the battle between man and woman, which is happening between always, is actually productive. It's the act of creation. This is what he says, which is so interesting, because people in their worst states of getting along are actually probably really close to creating something new, which is good. Which may be happening. I hope it's happening in the United States now. So at any rate, mischavrim yachad, they come together, umakim umeirim, they strike each other. They're opposed to each other, umeirim b'mocha dezah, and as a result of that, they wind up shining into the mocha dezera anpin, v'yotzah rasam l'chutz, then that tremendous amount of light starts going outwards. V'az mikoach arba osio zu, because of this, the letter of this avaya, the yud, the k, the vav, and the k, shall dalek hivarti niskar, which is panimi to the hivarti, na'asim b'zah arba tikunim acherim eloim, it makes in zah 4 more tikunim that are extremely, extremely high, and that is the source of his 13. V'az nishlam is dikne b'kol yud gimel tikunim. Okay, now I thought that was a really, really deep trip in. Listen, if you got a little more koyach, I'd like to see the rest of it. I'd like to see it in the tiv.
Go on.
Okay, let's go. And this is going to be we're going to finish here. This is ke'es. And I see that he's become happy with this word ke'es, so I won't say that again, but he says ke'es. Now, chozeh harav the boyer mashra kosav la'el, the Rab goes back and he starts to explain. That what we're talking about is the adding on to the 9 tikkunim v'dav, od 4 tikkunim v'na'aseh yud gimel tikkunim, and it becomes 13. V'tosefes tikkunim elu b'dikna, so the addition of these tikkunim, these particular dikna, na'aseh al yedei biruri hamalachim shel zah. So let me read again. But tosefes tikkunim elu, the ability to be able to add on these 4 new ones, naasa, comes as a result of yedei biruri hamalachim shel zah. And he has more to say about this in the Shefa, but the idea is that the particles of Zer Anpin, which would be the Vav of Avaya, which broke, are coming back up. They're coming from the bottom to the top. And they're coming from Klipa to Kedusha. And this is an act of tremendous, to me, an act of Mayim Nukvin. Now, maybe that's what he means is Pshat, but I don't know how much he's going to go into this. So as a result of these Birurim being mined out, and how do they get mined out? By us learning Torah and by prayer. Those things. So he's not going on. Ke'es, now he says Maskir harav es hamatzav shabo anu nimsaim ke'es. So let's talk about where we're at right now. Like we explained above, the hatipa shaham shachnu melamala. So this tipa, we said, came from some unbelievably high place. He says this is the element melamala baka as a yesod shel ima. That's what breaks open her yesod, which holds the chasadim and the gevurah. So before we said that the deterioration of the walls, or the dissolving of the walls of the Yesod of Ima, happened as a result of the blockage that was down at the bottom. But he's like saying like this. He says, yeah, you got a blockage on the bottom, but there's another element here, is that this Tipa comes in and it's like a bowling alley. Bang! It hits it and everything dissolves. Too much light to be able to hold it, and so therefore the walls of Ima go down. And those walls are found at the Chaza Dezah. Now that's our story. He just added this new piece. Is that the bowling ball, which is this tipa, comes in, and that's what actually causes the dissolution of the walls. The nechlach.
Degrading would be a good word. It degrades.
But it's more than degrading because he dissolves them. They're not there anymore. Now, that is a part of the process. Degrading is part of the process, but I think the bowling ball is, now that he did this, I think it's a bowling ball.
Okay.
It bangs it, and again, remember that this concept, and it's really important for counseling psychologists or people that do this, to know that the worst times are the potentially the best times. Because it takes the breakage in order for things to be rebuilt. I hope that's what's happening, like I say, in the United States now. The nechlach muach hadas l'shnayim. So then you see that the muach hadas is split into two. Now you see, there's 4 there, not just 3. Na'asa dalin mochim shehem chachma bina v'das hakolo mechasadim v'gevuros. Matzah the yesh lanu dalin mochim. So we find here, there's 4 mochim sheyesh b'chem yud bimel tikunim. That have let's see, he said that have 12 tikunim v'imakolo yesh lanu yud gimel tikunim dikna. So then, as a result of this, now how did he get to that? So after vadas akola, so now here's the 4. Umatza the yesh lanu. So now we find this dalid mochim. There are 4 mochim here. Sheyesh b'chem yud base tikunim. Why did the mochin we said that before, that each of the mochin has 3 nechabad within it, which actually is 12. V'imakolo yesh lanu yud gimel tikuni dikna. Now exactly how that worked, I didn't really get that so clearly. I don't know what your take is on this. So let me go backwards again. So he says chachma bina v'das hakola mechasadim v'gevuros. Those are 4 mochin. A matzah the yesh lana dalid mochin, fine. Sheyesh b'chen yud beis tikunim, and he says between them you'll see that they have 12 tikunim. I don't really see how he got to 12. I know that he multiplied 3 times 4, and he did that earlier, but I don't see here that shows that this goes along with tikunim. But let's just say, I'll put another word. I say the power of yud beis tikunim v'imakolo yesh lana yud gimel tikunim dik. So if I use the word power there, I can understand a little bit. But maybe he'll explain it as we go along. But he says, Ein ba adayim koach lib koach v'lahotzi es adalit tikunim ha'elo el mechutz pnei zah. So whatever that was, that last part, which he said the koach of the 12 tikunim, that really threw me. I don't have an answer for it. Maybe if you think about it, you'll come up with something. I think about it, I'll come up with something. But what he wants to say is that there they are. The walls are down. The kunim are all there. Somehow there's 12 between the 4. Okay, so he said 4 times 3. There's a potential. Maybe it means the potential for 12 there. And plus a kola would make 13. So he says that's the potential that's there. But in order to be able to help and to be able to break through the face of Zer Anpin, because these are all talking about the face of Zer Anpin, so therefore we need the help of this 3rd name, Havaya, which is on the back of the head, Hivarti, which is one of the 4 Hivarti that we find in the Rich. Now he said the 4 Hivarti means the 4 streams of whiteness that come from the name Yud K Vav K, 1 stream for every letter. Who is going down behind the back of the head, behind the neck. Shas Karna La'el that we mentioned, remembers this previously, and I have an answer. I don't know if you really understood the first question that I was asking. It was, how does it fall off the back of the inside? Would the next place would reach, when it reached Zer Anpin, would be the inside of Zer Anpin, who's on the outside. And I asked a question. I said, well, how could that? That's the way it should be, because that's where they're lined up. But he says, no, instead it goes from the back of the head of Erik Anpin to the back of the head of Zer Anpin. So Rabbi Memron always says is that the directions are always the same. Wherever they go is where they come from. So in other words, if it comes from the back of the head of Erik Anpin, it goes to the back of the head of Zeir Anpin. It wouldn't go to the front of the head of Zeir Anpin because the DNA is different. I don't know if that's basically what he says. He says, so let me go back and read this again. He says from the beginning, so in order to help and break through the face of Zeir Anpin, now this is a very difficult spot for me, this little thing. He was talking about the mochin that are exposed at the level of the chest of Zeir Anpin. So here we are now, we're at the face of Zeir Anpin. So the only answer that I have is that Das is located in two different places. One place is really more or less in the neck, in the middle part of the neck, and maybe the chin, or maybe the lower part, I don't know. And the other place is at the chaza. So maybe when he says, everything got stopped up at the chaza, then this bowling ball of this, the real Tipa, I'm not going to say bowling ball anymore, this Tipa comes down and breaks everything open, and then now you're back on the face. So this is a little confusing to me. So anyway, you're back on the face, and now in the face are these four mochin. Are they in the head? The four mochin, where are the four mochin located? Within the Chabad. One's on the right brain, left brain, and the other one's in the middle between them. Okay, so now you're back on the face. So now you have, here they are, they're exposed. Right? They have no covering. So what do we want them to do? We want them to make a 13-part beard. So that's what they're supposed to do, but they're just sitting there, not doing anything. So that's where we're at now. I think that might be a possible explanation here. So he said again, so now you have to break out of the Pnei of Zeir Anpin. That is the mochin there. They're all four of the mochim inside of the head of Zeir Anpin. So you need the fourth Havaya, the third Havaya. Which is manifest itself in the four Hivarti flowing off the back of the head of a rich. Sheyorid ma'akra rosh derek ha'orif. It goes back down behind the neck. We talked about already. So that's the directions go the same place. And you see this in the Rishah Shalat. Wherever it's coming from, if you could figure out where it's coming from, then you could figure out where it's going. Or if you figure out where it's going, you could figure out where it's coming from. And it strikes there. It produces light. And in this way, so this is where you see is going in this Havaya, into using the whiteness of Zah. So this whiteness is struck him, and it's going into the Moach Hazah. He said, now we'll move along, and he says like this, and what happens now? So now he said the reason is that right now, this whiteness has a tremendous power behind it. It has the ability to go into the Chabad of Zeir Anpin, which are now four pieces. And why does it do that? How does it do it? Yesod de'ima. Okay, so I'm really running out of steam a little bit, and I just want to take a deep breath and try to get through this part and read it one more time, and I really beg your pardon, but I'm running out of steam a little bit.
That's fine.
Let me take a sip of coffee so we can get through this sequence. We'll start from the white. Vatam sheyesh ke'es. Now the reason why there is now, b'koich havaya zu, why does it have the power to be able to hikones the soch mochin de Zeir Anpin, to go into the mochin de Zeir Anpin? Hu mishum, it's because Kevin Shah Tipa hapanimis. Now he's got a Tipa panimis now. Kvar baka es amechitzos shel Yesod de'ima, because there's no longer any walls around the Yesod of Ima. So it has therefore the ability to be able to penetrate into the mochin. The kilkolosam, and as a result of the appearance of this Tipa, and he calls it the Tipa, which is on the inside, it has the ability to dissolve down the walls. L'chein yesh koach gam ba'or shel ha'havaya shel hadalek hivarti. So now, and he is saying, I believe, that before this is broken open, the Hivarti don't really have the strength to be able to get through the mechitzos of the wall of Ima, of the Yesod of Ima. So he said, so yesh bo koach ba'or shel havaya shel hadalek hivarti. So there's 4 Hivarti that are coming down the Yud Kei Vav Kei, hanimsaim ba'orfa Eric Anpen, which were originally on the back of the neck of Eric Anpen, the ikonis besoch mochis Anpen. So now, because there's no walls there anymore, now we have the ability of this whiteness to go right straight in and penetrate the mochin inside. Okay, now we're coming closer. Now you have these 2 lights meeting. That is the lights of the mochin. Ha'or harishon shel Tipa. So no, he said not like that. He said what we have now here is this Tipa, which is in the middle of these mochin, somehow related to the mochin. And he did previously say that this Tipa is related to the Chochmah of the Tzelem. It's like the Mem of the Tzelem. So that's where it is. It has the ability, it's a tremendous light, he said before, an unfiltered light, a light that never changed. And so now this light is inside, that's the Tipa. So ha'or harishon shel Tipa, she'ana asukim bo, that we're talking about originally, she'balko has mechitzas levush Yesod shel Abba, which now has broken open, of Ima. So he's now broken open the walls of Ima, Shuha or Hapanimi, which is the inside light. So this is the concept of the inside light. That's the inside. It means that this is the ability that went inside, broke from the inside outwards the walls of Ima. Now you have this Kavarti, which is the Yud Kei Vav Kei, coming off of the head, pure whiteness, coming off of the head of Arich. Shuha or hachitzon. This we call the or hachitzon. Thank you very much. Hey, mischavrim yachad. The 2 of them come together. That's the or panemi and the more maki. This is the situation where you had. This is the way I think about it. You had such a big fight with your wife, and you just cannot. You're not going on, and the next thing you know is you're loving each other again, because the old surah is gone. And now you have the meeting of these 2 lights, which is one on the out, one from the outside. Like you said, one from the outside, one from the inside. That's opposites. These 2 opposites meet now. And they strike into the, and they shine. The strike causes a shining into the mochin of Zer Anpin. So you have a tremendously powerful light then. So that causes the light of the mochin to spread. Now this is a very deep piece, and we're coming to the end of it now. So now, from the power of this Avaya, Shaladalit Hivarti, so now he's summing it up. Because of the dissolution of the walls of the Yesod of Ima, you now have 4 mochin out there, and as a result of that, you have this Hivarti comes into them, produces an enormous light. It makes new tikkunim. El yonim the Zer Anpin. So you originally had those 4. Now you're going to have this light penetrate the light of these 4, and you're going to have something new, a clash, which is going to produce something new. Chutz ma'atesha eshahoyu lo kavar. But nishlam adikne the Zer Anpin the Yud Gimel tikkunim. So we have here, you have a completion of the dikna of Zer Anpin into 13 tikkunim. Well, that's the whole thing, and that was a nice little trip into deep Panemius. Yeah, one time this Rabbi Packhouse had this guy from Israel come. He's an interesting guy. He was a left-handed Levi with a limp on his left foot. So interesting that way. And he had written a book really about Gevura, which I don't think I have it anymore. I was looking for it. It's a very interesting book. But he called the study of Kabbalah the study of Panemius. And I think that's pretty good. Anyway, listen, have a wonderful Shabbos. Feel good. We'll talk about your schedule next week and see what we can do. And so I'll see you Sunday, I guess, morning, right?
Yes, good Shabbos.
God willing, good Shabbos.